You join us on the bank for our first carp session of 2018. We're in the middle of February. We finally got a break in the weather. You know, the snow has melted off. It's quite warm. It's just above zero. And we finally have some open water that we can get some lines into. You know, looking back on 2017, it was pretty amazing. We had an incredible year. We had a lot of amazing fish, spent some time with some great people. You know, we accomplished our major task of, you know, that big challenge we set for ourselves of the 12 months of carp. You know, that took up a lot more than we were expecting. But it was so rewarding. We learned so much, we enjoyed it. You know, a lot of stress along the way, but you know what? The good times outweighed that by far. Now, there was another project that we filmed throughout 2017, kind of in the latter half, that we really didn't give many hints to. We didn't talk about it much, mentioned it a few times in a few of the videos, kind of a little bit of what we were doing, but we really never gave any detail. And, you know, it started out completely different. Back in July of last year, we thought, you know what, I need to get back to some of the kind of the roving videos where I just go out with one camera by myself and try to get some little short session videos. So I went down to the Park Lake and did just that. Went for a short session video, just trying to get a couple of bites, do a couple of quick tips, and you know, put together something nice that I hadn't done for a while. That session kicked off a real eye-opener for me. Just how quickly I can get obsessed on one particular thing in my fishing. There was a fish that I came across that I absolutely had to have. The first time I really could set my heart on a target fish. And it proved to be one of the most difficult challenges that I had ever set. It blew 12 months of carp out of the water for me because it was just so much, just unbelievable mind power that I had to put into how I was going to do this and how I was going to figure this out, both, you know, targeting the fish, filming it, while still maintaining the work-life balance and our 12 months of carp challenge. You know, I'm sure I broke Goldie's brain many times, just pestering him, you know, we have to get down to the Park Lake, we have to get down to the Park Lake. And it was just something else. Like I said, we started in July, and I won't say how it ended. You're going to need to follow this series before you find out. But we didn't finish filming until November. And at that point, it was just so cold, the weather had turned on us, and it was pretty much the end of carp season for us. You know, we got those few sessions in December to wrap up the 12 months of carp, which were amazing. But that was it. We really struggled beyond that point in November. So I'm here to tell you that we've got 8 sessions filmed out of 10 sessions in total that span from July to November of 2017. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, and overall an incredible adventure that I'll never forget. And here we are with the first session that I'm bringing to you now of the quest for Carp-O-Pottomus.
Good morning. Well, you joined me on very short session. I've got about 3 hours. It just got light out. I actually walked down to the Park Lake today. Oh my God. So I walked down to the Park Lake, and an area that doesn't normally hold fish has about 20 swimming around. Most of them being about high singles to mid doubles. But there are 2 of them swimming around here. Now, when I'm at the Park Lake, I refer usually to 3 of these fish as the big girls. One of which I was lucky enough to have way back in 2015, so 2 years ago, that I called the sow. She's just a big fat girl, just over 20 pounds. and there is 2 of them for sure in here that I think are bigger than any of the A-team that I see now normally down in the lower area. Now, in all fairness, I haven't seen the sow or any of the big girls down there since about June. So it's possible that they made their way up here and have been just feeding like crazy. Oh my God. So as I walked in, you know, even though it's low light and I'm wearing camouflage to break up my outline around the tree line, as I crested up onto this little hill just above the water, I spooked them. I wasn't expecting them to be there, and they just scattered. They went left and right. Now they can only go about 20 yards to my right, but they can go about 50 yards to my left, and it opens right up, and there's much less access to the water there. So what I did was I quickly shot out half a kilo of corn once they scattered, directly across that far margin, right up against the rocks. And about 8 of them immediately come up from the right. I guess your left. So back that way. And went right in on, had a quick feed, and then moved off. Yeah, they can still see me right down in the margin, right below where I am. They just went behind the bush there. There was 3 of them, including one of them that I think is in the 20 range, maybe even bigger. I don't know if you can see, the light's so low still, but there's 2 fish feeding right there in the muck. Now, I have seen a couple of them taking from the surface over there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a rig that I can quickly put on or take off a shot, so I can either drift a little pop-up, like a northern special or something that I just trimmed down, that, you know, it's a pop-up I don't really care about, and I can drift it over them if I think they're feeding from the top. 3 fish right there. Yeah, they're circling around, grabbing up the little bits of corn that are scattered. Or I can put a couple of shot on it, sink it down really slowly with a couple pieces of rubber corn or a piece of monster carp flavored corn. Man, there are some quality fish, and they are all digging around now. So I'm going to get to tying the rig. We'll go over that a little bit later if I have time. But for right now, I'm going to focus on trying to get one of those, I don't know, dozen fish that are sitting right in front of me. You can see the big ones just up around the point there. So, oh man, there's a 20 in there, I'm sure of it. Yeah, I'm going to crack on. They're also feeding right below my feet there. So. Hopefully, you get to see some fish today. Circling around, they're definitely moving in on the bait. A couple really small ones, you know, high doubles, or sorry, high singles. Actually, there's one nosing right up to my bait right now, and he pushed off. So they're coming in and they're rubbing on the bait that's on the bottom, and they're moving off. They're staying in a little hole that they've dug over there. We can see the silt is all dug up, and that's only about 5 feet to the left of the bait. That big one keeps coming back. That is a 30-pound fish right there. I'm sure of it. There are so many big fish moving around up here. I can get my bait to the spot where I think they're going to be most comfortable taking it. They're scattering out in the open, and they come back right along here, rub around in the bait, and then move off. I put my bait right in that little silt hole that they've been digging. They're spooking each other around and moving around over there. Looks like there's some dog walkers coming into the park, so they may actually help spook the fish this way. Man, that is a massive fish up there. So one of the things I'm going to need to be careful of is getting too content with where I am. There are target fish here that I want, most definitely, but I'm on limited time, and these fish are very wary. There's a lot of other areas to this park lake that have fish and some really quality fish. It's very weedy down there, so it's going to be a little bit trickier. But I might be able to, get those fish to slip up a little bit easier because it's not so vast and open. They're not silt feeders over there, so I might be able to get them to be a little bit more aggressive. These fish are incredibly wary, and the nice thing is that I put a ton of bait out. I put maize out. I put some crushed boilies out. I just threw out some crushed and whole 16 mil monster carp tackle, pineapple, and tutti frutti boilies. There's one coming up near my hook bait now. So it's baited. I know they're feeding in the silt, and I know that they will feed what I put out for them. Most of the maize is gone. They swooped in, cleaned it all up, and then pushed out. But I can, in the 3 hours or so that I'm here, I can come back 4 or 5 times just by doing little passes around the park lake and, drop a hook bait in front and see if I can get one to slip up. So as much as I want, I would love to just spend the whole time here. The whole idea of this session is to be aggressive, actively stalk out fish, find groups, pick one out, and move on to the next spot. And as much as I would really love to stay here and target this one, what I can do is I can circle around ahead of them, lower a bait down in front. If I can't get them to bite, I can move down to the next section and I can find some more fish. They're grouped up much tighter now, so if they come in on this bait at all, they're going to feed much more aggressively, much more competitively, and I can get them to trip up on a hook bait. But it could take my entire 3 hours. I could spend 4 or 5 sessions here through the week and not catch them. So I got a couple fish moving up on my bait where it is now. So I'll give it a few minutes as those big ones. Oh man, quality fish. There's definitely 2 of them that are like high 20s, mid to high 20s, and I think that one for sure has got to be a 30. It's just so deep bodied. But they've gone around that point, so I can definitely stalk around. There's other areas, even though it's a steep bank, there's other areas where I can get down with the net if I need to. Oh, I got a couple feeding right there by the bait. Even just to sit here and watch those fish is incredible. They just move in and out as a group. There's a fish. I gave it a little twitch and she took it. And this fish is much bigger than I thought it was. I gotta be real careful. I got a 6-pound test on here. Oh my goodness. So a fish I saw down there that I thought was only around a low double, high single, 17 pounds, 12 ounces. How big is the big girl then? My God. I thought I had a little one. I'm going to get this fish back, and then we're going to move off to another spot. Lots of fish. We'll come back to the big girl. Okay, so I'm about a third of the way around the park lake. The sun is ridiculously bright over here, so it's really hard to see, which kind of takes my stalking plan out of the equation somewhat. I spotted a few feeding fish around some downed trees that a beaver knocked down, and they nosed up to it, but they didn't take. They spooked off. Probably, I don't know, I don't generally use scented corn here, but that's what I got with me. I forgot the sweet corn, and besides, pineapple corn it catches for me everywhere else. It got me that 17-12 about a half hour ago, so I'm sure I can trick another one into biting, but I'm not pre-baiting any other spots as of yet as I go around, because I'm only seeing small fish. I think the biggest fish I've seen since I left that first spot was, it couldn't have been any more than 5 or 6 pounds. I'm seeing a lot of small fish, which is good. I'm quite happy that I'm seeing so many small fish, but there are so many big fish, you know, and you know, for here I'm talking big fish like mid to high doubles, and then there's the exceptional 18 that's you know, in those 20 range, and definitely that one I think is 30. But I'm just not seeing them. And in actuality, last time I was here, did a little bit of stalking with Goldie, and I managed a really good 3-pound sucker. I'll show you a photo of that. It's already been up on the Instagram and the Facebook page, so if you've already seen that photo, you know which one I'm talking about. Great fish, great fight. It was the first fish I landed with my this new 9-foot rod. And then just after dark, Goldie nailed a 12-pounder, nice 12-pound carp. So we're still struggling to find the big fish, or the bigger fish, let's say. So I'm going to continue my tour around, hopefully find a few others, but I think I'm going to end up concentrating my efforts up at the other section where that big girl is. Okay, I'm about halfway around Park Lake now, and then all the traditional big fish spots are completely devoid of fish. You know, the spots where we normally see a couple of small fish, they're there. The small guys are there. The traditional spots where I really like to set up for the larger fish, nowhere to be seen. I'm just going to keep looking here. Beautiful morning so far. It's quite clear and sunny. It's still cool, so it hasn't really gotten hot yet. You know, right behind me there should be a whack of fish, all just sunning themselves under the surface and nothing. I can see a few spots of bubbles that are out of my range of casting with my rig the way it is. But I'm looking for the fish that are close in anyways. Set right up on them. You know, around the island there's nothing. I can see the bottom, all the weeds. There's a real big mess of bubbles just halfway between me and the island right now. Probably a fish or two have stirred it up. The weeds are really thick. They're even thicker than they were last time. Back in the section that I started in. The fish are still here, but they are not actively feeding. see if I can just get one to take out of aggression out of competition. Problem is the overhang of the brush. Big one, way over on the other side on the far margin. Oh my God, is that fish big? Well, it's a little bite there. It wasn't the big girl. Very quality fish. I think I need to approach this differently. I think I'm going to put a little bit more weight on because I've got some time left. I think I'm going to put a rig out there and kind of hope for the bolt effect so that if one does take it, they kind of hook themselves instead of me waiting to feel it. And I think I'm going to wait it out and try and get the big girl. That fish is massive, absolutely massive. I'm going to make an adjustment. What I've got is the 18-pound mainline fluorocarbon. Looks like there's some cuts in it, so I'm going to have to change that a little bit, just cut off a little bit, to my swivel. And the tag end of my mainline tying to the swivel, I've got one buckshot on there, and then a 6-pound leader down to a size 10 Raven octopus hook, 3 pieces of monster carp pineapple corn on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the frayed line here. I'm going to put a few extra shot on there for a little bit heavier weight. I'm going to keep my presentation probably similar or the same. I left the majority of my boilies at home, and they're digging in the silt probably for bloodworm. I had some bloodworm boilies that I could have shaved down and put out there, but I don't have them with me. I was not expecting to find fish up here. So I'm going to adjust my rig, fix the line, and then I'm going to set in with the alarm for a little bit of a longer haul here. So I'll bring you back when I see something, or something happens. Or I catch a donkey. here's an update. They're moving around. They've nosed up to the bait a few times, but it's not been what they want. What I've got here is a monster carp vanilla boilie that I soaked in coconut oil. And the coconut oil is kind of coagulated around it, so I think there's just too much attractor on it. So I'm going to go for a more subtle approach. I have a more subtle bait. Just going to trim down another boilie. And maybe put a little piece of pop-up corn on it. Let's see if maybe that'll do it. Just a simple little tutti frutti boilie, piece of yellow pop-up corn. I figured since there's a lot of fruity flavors in my mix that I threw out there, maybe that's what will trigger the bite. We'll have to see. Okay, so in the few minutes that I had the bait out, take that vanilla off and put on the tutti frutti. It was clearly that there was too much attractor on that, in the oil on that boilie, because right when I went to cast back out, two fish were just grubbing right heavy on the bait. Maybe a more subtle approach with that lighter boilie, lighter flavor anyway. When they push back in, one will grab it. The big girl pushed over to the other side where I started this morning, just across around that point. But they keep coming back and forth. It's kind of a pattern that they follow. So better. Yeah, without the shades, I can barely see anything. Okay, so the big girl's over on the other side. Just back in this corner, there's still a lot of quality fish. They're all just actually pushing out to the bait right now. They go out so far, and they turn around and come back into these weeds. And on top of being in these weeds here, there is two really big rudd. They're swimming together. There's actually one just coming by now. You can see their bright red fins. But like there's a dozen fish on this side right now. I don't even want to guess at their weight. They're all got to be mid-doubles. The rudd are just under the surface. That's a big carp right there. They're picking out. I threw some corn down here to get them interested. So they pick at it, move back into the weeds, come out, pick at it, move back into the weeds. I'm hoping they'll push out to where my bait is. They get closer and closer every time, so maybe they'll just start feeding on it, and I can get one of them. In the meantime, if the big girl comes back from the other side, she has to pass my hook bait. Okay, so I got some fish in the bait right now. There's 4 fish in there feeding right now. I hate it when they're this smart, but I also love it when they're this smart. Okay, so starting to get really down on time. The rudd are still moving around pretty heavily on this side, but all of the carp have moved out of this side and have gone over to the edge. Kind of probably 90% of the way over to where I caught that fish this morning, where all that bait was over there. And they seem to be circling around and feeding on it over there. So they might, they've been coming in and picking at this and then moving off, picking at it and moving off. So they might just want it to sit here for a while. So there's another spot on the other side that's just up from where I was. Might be a little bit safer to get to the bank. So I had a lot of trouble with that fish earlier. I can reach both spots from there. I'm going to turn this camera off. I'm going to grab the gear. I'm going to hustle over there. And I'm going to see if I can get it to a more presentable position of where they're definitely kind of feeding right now. Try it. Big girls in there. They have been ripping up the spot from all the bait I put in earlier. It is clouded right up. But I can see the big girl perfectly. Push back to the other side. There's 2 others with her. I spooked one of them. There's a few fish kind of back this way. One really good one just up ahead of me. I rest over where the bait is. So I'm going to come down here a little bit further. I'm going to bring the gear down. I'm going to do about the last half hour I have right here. There's a high double just sitting in the flow, just up from me. Oh my God. That fish is like a f***ing submarine. Up there, and all the bigger ones out of the group are following around with her. They've nosed in. She has been within inches of my bait a few times now. Well, I'm out of time. That wraps up this session. I never did get the big girl, although there was a number of times where she would move in with the group of fish. She would pick up the only piece of corn to one side of my bait and then spook off. So overall, great morning, very exciting morning with those big fish on me, as much as they were, and coming so close to getting her. But we managed a beautiful 17-pound, 12-ounce, just beast of a fish, first thing. And, you know, for the park lake, that is just an incredible fish. So, no complaints here. You know, I'm going to come back and I'm going to work this spot the next chance I get. And hopefully, you know, when Goldie comes back to his spot, it's just down a little ways, he'll get something out of that spot. I threw a little bit of bait in there for him. But for now, it's time to head home. I got about a 2-kilometer walk to get back. Good morning, exciting morning. Got a fish, can't complain. Thank you, Park Lake.